On this episode of RC Kicks, we're kicking off the largest RC build on the show. That's this monster. Now, it's going to be spanned over a few build videos, but first things, we need to lay it all out and crack on.
Welcome to RC Kicks, the dumbest RC channel on YouTube.
Give me a stiff one, Mikey.
We're all laid out, ready to go, and yes, that was a mammoth task just in itself. I've got my servos ready to go and I've centered them all already just to make life easier. We've got to fit the servo savers, so we kick off on page 4, number 1. And I get the feeling it's gonna take a while. Page 6, number 6, just finished off part of the steering and the rods. There's 2 bearings in here. You've got a 1150 and a 850. Right, that's page 7, number 9 done, and that's the front axle. This, believe it or not, is a solid lump of metal all the way through. Now, after building the Tamiya F350, it really has given me an insight into building the trucks, because a lot of these parts are actually straight off the F350. So, no real challenges so far, just making sure I put Loctite on everything that should have it. And there's actually springs in here. I'll probably change the front 2 to oil and leave the rest just as friction, basically. Just finished page 8, number 11. That's all the front axle done with the steering, and that's all connected up. No real mistakes so far and no real challenges at all. Goes together lovely. I've just made sure to Loctite as much as I can, as I don't want anything rattling loose. Now we move on to page 9, number 12, where we build the first diff, and so far it's taken me 1 hour 10 minutes. So let's keep going. That's page 10 and 11, 16 and 17, the rear axles. One thing to be careful of is when you're putting the nuts on here, these are different to the inside ones. I used the same ones on these ones, so I had to go back and change them as you don't have enough of these ones. You have to put Loctite on these ones. Apart from that, no problems at all. I did put an extra rubber O-ring in there just to keep this a bit tighter instead of having it knocking around. That's the dog bone between the 2 axles. But apart from that, it all went together, no problems at all. now on page 11, number 19. When you're building this up, at the end it says to put this part in, which is MD17. This looks very much like it. It's not, it's actually the brass one. It's fractionally longer, these are, so it means you can't put the clip in. So just be careful when you're doing that, otherwise you'll think what is going wrong and you've made a mistake, but really you're just using the other one. But as you can see, if you actually put it up against it, it is slightly different. Okay, on page 12, number 20, when you are building this part of the gearbox, the actual spline that goes all the way through has a notch missing at the end. When you first are witnessing it here, it doesn't actually show you anything on both sides, but it's actually this way round. So the cutout is this end. When you fit those, then when you come to this one, you actually rotate it so that you then have the cutout at this end when you fit these sections in, and then it stays on this side. It doesn't really show you much here, so you can't see it. So you might think that being that it's this way round for this section and this section, it would be, but as you can see, it's not. So take it from here, move it to here, then rotate it after you've fitted these.
You can call me stupid, yes, you can call me sheep. You can say I'm lazy, you can say I'm weak. You think that using her would get to me, and if you're right then you're in trouble, D. 'Cause I won't break, no I know I won't wait. You're in trouble, D. But when it comes to
And to get to this far was 2 hours and 14 minutes. And yes, it's kind of looking like a truck. I feel like I've got quite far. We've got the gearbox fully built. We've got the motor on. We've got the steering done and the steering servo installed. All the drive lines in with all the diffs and the gears, as well as the dog bones are in. If I hook up power to this motor, it will definitely drive the truck, even though it's got no wheels on it. And the steering is all working as well, and the suspension is all done. So you do feel like you're getting quite far after just a couple of hours. There was a couple of little tips that I can give you from my experience if you're building this exact kit. The first one is your servos. You need to have your servos available right from the off, and you need to center them before you even start, because page one, you're straight into your servos. So if you're thinking about building the kit and then ordering your servos and they'll turn up, you can't really do that in this kit. Second, the kit Threadlock that you get is this tiny little amount, not enough for a truck this big, especially when there's a lot of screws going into lots of metal. It will rattle itself loose, guaranteed, especially if you're fitting the MFC-03 vibration kit for sure. Apparently it's quite aggressive, so you definitely need to pick up more Loctite. Definitely. The ceramic grease that you get in the kit is fine. There's no issues with that. They give you plenty, but they don't really give you enough of the Loctite. You will need MA27 synthetic rubber cement, because the Y1 and Y2 on page 6, you actually stick them together and then you've got to let them dry. They're like the bump stops for the suspension on the rear. And then there's another one, which is a very strange one to see, that there's a H5 part. And that comes from the white trees for the body to be mounted underneath, which is all black. So why this is the case, I have no idea why they're there. Can I even see them? And you have to actually paint them black yourself, which is really weird. So I recommend, as you open the kit, 2 things you need to do before you even start. Go to page 6 glue up the Y1s and Y2s, and also get the H5 tree, get the white parts that are needed, and paint them PS or TS black and leave them to dry. And while you've done those, go on and build the kit, and then they'll be ready for you when you get to stage 6. Otherwise, you kind of got to stop and go, I've got to paint these, or oh, I've got to glue these, and now wait 15 minutes before I can carry on. So that's a little top tip for you. Apart from that, there is an award for this kit for the longest screw ever. There's an M20, which is a 3x60, which is basically a screw that long. There is a few of these for attaching these sort of front mud guards, if you will. They are humongous. I've never seen any that long before in any Tamiya kit at all. I think that covers pretty much everything. I can recommend this if you're a little bit bored of building a few buggies or a few cars, and you've done quite a few. I could highly recommend giving the truck a go, even if you're not really a truck kind of person. I'm not, but the actual step up in complexity is very interesting, and there's a hell of a lot more detail to this kit. So I can recommend it if you find you're getting a little bit samey, if you're building the same sort of, you do a lot of rally cars or you do a lot of buggies and you just fancied something different and you've got deep enough pockets, mind, this is definitely something I can recommend. Anyway, that's part 1. On part 2, we carry on page 15, where we're basically fitting all the rear cowl, and then hopefully we're going to start looking at some electronics. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.